now return to the Transformers.
Okay, let's just jump right in, shall we? Released in 2025, Transformers Collaborative Mandalorian is a Voyager-ish sized figure that turns from a robo-rendition of the Space Dad into his Naboo Starfighter that he adopts in Season 2. Interestingly, one of the designers for this figure actually worked way back when on the original Star Wars crossover stuff. He even worked on the Darth Vader.
It's like poetry, so if they rhyme.
Well, let's see what 20-ish years of design philosophy could do to a crossover. Gotta say, out of all the characters that I could have picked, I feel Mando was the safest bet. After a solid chunk of Clone Wars only characters and disintegrating brown plastic falcons, doing the standout Disney Plus character and having him turn into the most famous prequel vehicle was impressive. Most impressive. Which is kind of why I don't have much to say about the design of the robot, but in a good way. It's the Mandalorian as a Transformer. It has gray plastic acting as the armor with hints of brown that replicate his undergarments, which is actually one of my favorite bits they got to work out considering how the spaceship has it all mostly hidden. Scratch details from the Starfighter become battle damage on the robot. The brownish red on the legs giving off boot vibes, a little holster on his person with a big iron on his hip. Even the somewhat weird backpack doesn't really hurt it, it just kind of looks like a jetpack. My only two big gripes are the shoulder spikes and the head. The spikes do look kind of cool, but it'd be a little nice if they could scrunch down a little bit. They are way too tall for the figure. And the head is, well, it's small and kind of boring. I don't know, I can see that they changed it up a little bit, but at the same time, it's just Mando's helmet. It's not really Transformer-y, it feels basic. Like, with Vader, it took creative liberties to make the robot head look more robotic than the traditional Space Samurai look. This just looks like a Mandalorian helmet with extra lines on it. That makes the robot look a little less like a Transformer and more like Din Djarin wearing a power suit, like something out of Fallout. Kind of like Vader, actually, but less imposing. Although, unlike Vader, the posing on this thing isn't awful. Mostly because it's not carrying a whole half of a sphere on its back and arms and legs. The kibble on Vader is the worst part of that figure, okay? We've got a standard head and arm, although somewhat limited because of the shoulder spikes, making him accidentally pull a Count Dooku if you get them too close to his head. Do it. Waist swivel, standard legs with double jointed knees. There's the actual robot knee at the top of the leg, which gives it a standard range of motion, but then there's a whole other knee which helps with the transformation right below that gives them deep movement, which I'm always a fan of on flyer type Transformers. It really helps them pull off Superman style flying poses. It also has a nice hefty foot with up and down and an ankle pivot. The top section is a bit awkward because of the spikes, but the waist down is phenomenal, and you can get into some neat poses as a result. Accessories are good,
but it can be better.
You get 6 blast effects, 2 blasters which comprise a tiny pistol and a big zapper, and a stand that holds a little floating carrier thingy. The stand can split into 3 pieces: a shield, a cape, and a whip sword? Whatever, doesn't matter. This set of accessories rocks, but I do need to address the 2 elephants in the room. Where is Grogu and the Darksaber? These accessories are still awesome, but I do feel it was a missed opportunity to not have those. Grogu even has his own little spot to sit in on the carrier, but he just isn't there. I mean, like, come on, this ain't Fortnite. Mando can totally have a lightsaber. I would like to see the baby, and the Sabine Slicer 6000. Worth noting, while the plastic cape is nice and all, I prefer a soft cloth cape that looks like the one from the actual show and can actually be worn around the figure, hence my custom one. Not a dig at the accessory, just letting y'all know. But yeah, cool design, good posing, a swath of accessories at his disposal, not bad for a droid. The transformation on this figure is honestly kind of insane. It reminds me a lot of Earthrise Cyclonus, where it's almost impossible to imagine this turning into that in a way that isn't frustrating. But yeah, the ship pieces all come together and lock in tight, the robo bits practically disappear, the accessories work together to make a flight stand and some flying effect parts. All of this makes it into a stellar starfighter. Wait a minute! How come this has an easier time transforming into a silly starfighter than Vader did turning into a giant bowling ball? That makes no sense! Now this is pod racing. The N1 Naboo Starfighter alt mode is amazing. It's a solid vehicle with immaculate detail. In the context of the show, this is a busted up Naboo Starfighter that Mando adds to his adopted family after his beloved Razor Crest explodes. It's a piece of junk, but honestly, quite the upgrade. I was never really a fan of the Naboo Starfighters. I don't really like smooth futuristic vehicles in Star Wars or any sci-fi really, but I am a sucker for scrappy vehicles like this, where you can just tell from looking at it that it's held together with bonding strips and dreams. It's like the Falcon or the Slave One. It's not just a hunk of junk, it's got personality. And this translation of the vehicle with these exposed wires, the mechanical bits, burnt marks from the exhaust, and a scratched up paint job, it just really shows a lot more character than if it had just looked, well, like the Phantom Menace Naboo Starfighters. It's locked in so nothing comes loose and it stays solid and put together, unlike some Dark Lords.
Pushed everything else out of the way.
It has a built-in flight stand. I mean, does Vader have a flight stand? Oh wait, yeah. And you can also open the cockpit for a Grogu. That is not included. Okay, why include this at all if you're not gonna have the Baby Yoda? It's like making the Top Gun Maverick transformer and then giving him the service hand, but then you don't really give him the beach ball. I find the lack of Grogu disturbing. Whatever, the spaceship is magnificent. This figure as a whole is magnificent too. I came into this with the expectation that it would really be terrible or at minimum mediocre, but aside from a somewhat lacking upper torso posing wise and 2 missing accessories, the figure is generally great. It's dynamic, the details are so pleasing on the eyes, the accessories we do have are really fun, and, I mean, it's Mando. Yes, I'm using that excuse again. In the same way that Vader elevates his figure, Mando elevates his too. This figure was already good on its own, but having the bounty hunter himself be attached to it just makes it that much cooler.
But this Death Star has Transformers technology, changing into the massive Darth Vader mech.
So yeah, most unusual this is. I came into this thinking that even with the 20-year gap that the deal would have gotten worse from the Transformers crossover. But looking at these two figures, it's easy to see now that the problem with the original crossover line was just a matter of limitations during the time. Vader, for all of his faults, has hints of greatness. The gimmicks, the posing when it isn't limited by the kibble, and the idea itself is up there with the best of them. It's just that it's a toy from 18 years ago from a crossover line. In terms of budget alone, doing a crossover figure of Star Wars with that era of Transformers engineering would have taken any amazing idea. I mean, just look at the era first on that line. Like, I love the concept of Han and Chewie turning into the Millennium Falcon, but you know what I don't like? This. And Hasbro never made any toys based off the Naboo Starfighters in the original line, but just looking, you could just tell if they did do the N1, it would have looked like a useless pile of junkyard scrap, but in a bad way. The almost 20 years between these figures shows a clear upgrade in Transformers design and engineering, and in turn makes this figure shine bright like a star. And the fact that one of the designers for the Star Wars figure worked on the Star Wars figures 2 decades ago kind of helped to show that this isn't the insolence of designers that didn't know what they were doing at the time. They just needed to wait for the engineering to catch up a little. The figure is not great, but I could still find enjoyment in the Darth Vader Death Star. And I still look at both of these figures and I feel that sense of nostalgia of growing up in the zeitgeist of these two cinematic monoliths and the pandemonium of each franchise's releases in the 2000s. I'm reminded of why I dressed up as Darth Vader for Halloween the same year that I took my first grade school picture with my Optimus Prime t-shirt. Because in spite of any faults or limitations the crossover holds, it's still Star Wars and Transformers. And it's always nice to have something on my shelves that reminds me of those days gone by. So yeah, Transformers and Star Wars. They're pretty wizard separate, totally wizard together. I recommend these as well as any of the other figures from this crossover if you're a fan of both franchises. It's pretty fun to see a galaxy from far, far away that is more than meets the eye. Well, I hope you enjoyed this hunk of junk 2-parter, and may the dark side of the Force be a path to abilities you would consider to be unnatural. Later!